Hello, welcome to North West Tonight. I'm Annabelle Tiffin. Our top story. A shock from Klopp. We're live at Anfield after the Liverpool manager announces he's leaving at the end of the season.
I know that I cannot do the job again and again and again.
He's embraced the city and he's embraced the people, and that's why it's so hard. I think it's kind of like a father figure departing sort of thing.
Also on tonight's programme, a month on from the Staley Bridge tornado, we meet the family lucky to be alive after their chimney collapsed. Tackling the obesity crisis, a North West council leads the way by banning junk food ads. The beauty taking flight in your gardens. People send us their photos from this year's great RSPB birdwatch.
And it was a windy old start to the day today, but it did eventually calm down. And you know what? The weekend's not looking too bad. Join me at the end of the programme. I'll give you all the details.
Well, Liverpool fans are in shock tonight after manager Jurgen Klopp suddenly announced he was leaving the club at the end of the season. With the team 5 points clear at the top of the Premier League and 2 years still on his contract, his decision came as a total surprise. Well, Richard Askham joins us from Anfield now. Richard, forgive the pun, but for the red side of the city, this was a real bolt from the blue, wasn't it?
It was, Annabelle. Yeah, a real shock for fans, as you were describing there. Not just because of what Jurgen Klopp has won. He's won every major trophy going. He's the only Liverpool manager to have won the Champions League, the Premier League, the FA Cup and the League Cup. But also because of his personality, such a charismatic personality. And I think that's why it's so difficult for Liverpool fans to take. He took to the city straight away, didn't he, when he walked in 2015, was pictured in restaurants and bars with supporters. So why is he leaving? Here's what he had to say.
I cannot do the job again and again and again and again. I came here and I said it the first day, as a normal guy. I am still a normal guy, I just don't live a normal life for too long now. And I don't want to wait until I'm too old for having a normal life. And I need at least to give it a try.
You wouldn't put it past him, would you, to finish with a bang in his final season here at Liverpool? It will take some getting used to for supporters, though. Here's Andy Gill with a reaction to what has been a landmark day for Liverpool Football Club.
When Jurgen Klopp was unveiled as Liverpool manager, someone asked him if, like Jose Mourinho at Chelsea, he was the special one for Anfield. His response told much about his character.
A totally normal guy. I'm the normal one, maybe, if you want this.
He may have been the normal one, but his achievements with Liverpool and his relationship with the club and the city were far from normal. And today has brought shock, disbelief and sadness.
Heartbroken, but the man's in control of his own destiny and he's really clear in his own explanation as to why. He's been an incredible Liverpool manager. The fact that it feels as monumental as it does, I think, speaks not just of his footballing impact, but his cultural one. I think he's been an incredible servant to Liverpool and it's been an act of love.
Klopp's first trophy was the 2019 Champions League, the club's 6th. But winning the Premier League in 2020 lockdown was the one the fans had craved. Other titles, including both domestic cups, followed. Now the fans know this season is the last chance to add to that tally.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Really brilliant for the club.
Yeah.
So proud of him. Sad loss.
We've taken him to our hearts and he's taken us to our hearts. He's embraced the city and he's embraced the people. And I mean, that's why it's so hard. I think it's kind of like a father figure departing sort of thing.
He's done everything he said he'd come in and do. He's done it, so it's time to move on now to someone else.
This afternoon he explained more about his decision.
I underestimated or judged it wrong. I thought my energy level is endless because it always was. And now it's not. Yeah. And then we have to change.
There's a long way to go before Klopp bows out, but the question is already on people's lips.
Who should replace him?
There'll be obvious names bandied about. I mean, Xabi Alonso's doing ever so well in Germany at the moment, and I think he'll end up being favourite. But I think what's important is whoever replaces him doesn't and isn't meant to be Jurgen Klopp too. It has to be someone comes in and is themselves.
Klopp has said he'll never manage another club in England. Andy Gill, BBC North West Tonight, Liverpool.
Well, even though Jurgen Klopp told the club in November, it's come as a shock to most of us, hasn't it, that he's leaving at the end of the season. Also to former Liverpool players as well. I've spoken to one of them, Stephen Warnock, who you'll know as well as a BBC pundit with Match of the Day. Here's what he had to say.
I totally understand it, because I look at managers often, and I've worked with a lot of managers. I speak to a lot of managers, even now in the media, and you can tell the pressure that's on them and how hard it is. So it comes as a surprise because of the message he's been sending out. But actually, when you actually sit down and look at it and think about what he's doing and what he's going through, is it that much of a surprise? Probably not.
How big a hole is Jurgen Klopp going to leave, and how difficult is it going to be for Liverpool to find somebody to replace him?
Yeah, it is a huge hole. He's brought the good times back to the football club. Nine cup finals he's gotten them into in 8 years, which is quite phenomenal. 3 Champions League finals, albeit they only won 1 of them. But to get to the final against Real Madrid in 2 of them is an incredible achievement. He's done the unprecedented, which was to win a Premier League trophy, which many thought would never happen again. But he achieved it all, and he's won everything there is to win for Liverpool, which is quite remarkable. I think the way FSG is run and the way they are, I think they'll have looked at this 4 years ago and said, well, what do we do long term? You're not a good business if you don't think of worst case scenario. You've always got to think ahead. I think that's something that FSG do extremely well. I think they do that.
Let's get some live reaction then. Delighted to say I'm joined by Josh Sexton from the Anfield Wrap. Good to see you, Josh. Jurgen Klopp, as you know, has said 100% he will not manage another English club. What does that say about his connection with this club, but also the fans?
I think it says as much about his affinity to the city of Liverpool as well. You know, he has a key to the city of Liverpool now, and the city of Liverpool, it seems, has his heart in the way that, you know, the fans all have Jurgen Klopp's heart, and he has ours as well. He's just been an incredible figure at this club, and the idea of seeing him at any other club throughout world football would be tough. So I'm glad it's not going to be in England at least. Yeah,
that wouldn't be something you'd want to see, would it? What about this season then? Let's throw it forwards a bit. Do you think that the players will be even more determined to send him off in style and win at least 1 trophy?
I'd like to think so, yeah. I'd like to think that the emotion of this will carry us through. We all know that the threat of Manchester City, and obviously they've got players coming back from injury. It's going to be a tough, tighter race from here, and I'm hoping that something like this will spur on the players to as you say, send Jurgen away with some silverware to talk about. Now, as you know, famous managers here, Bill Shankly, Bob Paisley, Kenny Dalglish, they're all celebrated in some way around here. Do you think Jurgen Klopp should have a statue? I absolutely think he should, yeah. Whether we can name another stand after him, whether it's a statue, I think Jurgen Klopp has to be commemorated in some way. You know, I was born in 1995 and he's the greatest Liverpool manager in my lifetime, so I'd like to see that. All right, Josh, thanks very much. You'll see him for a few more games yet anyway. Yep. Thank you very much indeed. They might need a little bit more polish for the teeth for Jurgen. It will take some getting used to, won't it, for Liverpool fans when he does go. A few more matches, though, as I mentioned, starting at the weekend against Norwich. From here, back to you.
Richard, thank you very much. Yeah, and as Richard said, we'll talk about more football in sport later on in the programme. But if you want to hear more about Jurgen Klopp's decision, you can listen to a special edition of BBC Radio Merseyside's Red Cop podcast with lots more on that story. Next tonight, a man who murdered a teenager in a row over a stolen motorbike has been jailed for 22 years. Dylan Bragger was stabbed at least 23 times in Skelmersdale last June. The court heard he was butchered like an animal by Philippe Figueiredo. CCTV showed him walking the streets as he sought revenge for the theft of his wife's motorbike. Dylan's distraught family say he was a gentle giant.
Every minute of every day, we think of how scared Dylan was in the last moments of his life. And this is going to haunt us forever. To hear that he suffered the most of these injuries in life, it broke us even further.
A woman from Lancashire has died in America after a severe allergic reaction after eating a cookie containing peanuts. Dancer Orla Baxendale bought the snack at a grocery store, but the label didn't say it contained nuts. An EpiPen was used, but was unable to save her. And there's more on the BBC News website this evening, such as assets controlled by the former Tory peer Michelle Mone and her husband, including an estate on the Isle of Man, have been frozen under a court order obtained by the Crown Prosecution Service. Avanti West Coast is investigating a leaked presentation which described taxpayer subsidies as free money, and the £10 million culture hub being planned by Blackpool Council to help regenerate the town centre. For those stories and more, you can visit the BBC News website or app. Now, tomorrow, it'll be a month since a tornado hit Staley Bridge, so we've been back there to talk to some of those who were lucky to escape unhurt. Among them, Luke Biden, whose chimney crashed through a bedroom ceiling, narrowly missing one of his family members who was asleep in bed. Here's our environment correspondent, Judy Hobson.
2 days after Christmas, a tornado ripped through two small communities near Staley Bridge. Roofs blew off, walls tumbled and trees fell. Luke Biden's roof was badly damaged. He says it was a miracle that no one was killed. A chimney stack fell through an attic bedroom window.
It hit this beam, broke into two pieces and collapsed onto the floor. Broke through the floorboards over there. And that's where the mattress was, where my mother-in-law was. Like I say, it's normally right here, but just because of the way the room was set up at the time, we decided to put it over there. And had it been here, it almost certainly would have fallen on top of her.
In the next room, Luke's young son was sleeping. The tornado damaged the structure of the beams.
Our son's cot was over there, underneath this beam. I think what we struggled to cope with was the thought of how close it was to injuring our children. That was quite traumatizing. But you know what? Everyone was okay, and that is a miracle.
It's thought the tornado brought winds of up to 160 miles per hour, ripping through anything in its path. Inga runs the stable yard, which houses 30 horses.
Actually, the horses were remarkably well behaved. There was one, a youngster, he got very unnerved by it and he went through the stable door.
Inga lost part of her roof in the tornado. Her husband is a builder, so it's already repaired. But she says events like this take its toll emotionally.
It's not just about the financial side, it is the mentally draining side. Obviously the trees have been uplifted and the stone walls are all down. The pleasant picturesque feel has gone out of it. For now, it'll come back, but it has gone for now.
Judy Hobson, BBC North West Tonight, Staley Bridge.
Now, earlier this week, we reported on a study which suggests that children in the region's most deprived areas are more than twice as likely to be severely overweight than those in the wealthiest. Well, in Knowsley, they've now decided that restricting the advertising of junk food might just help. Here's Claire Hamilton.
Shake, shake, shake. Yay! They're too young to read, but in a few years' time, these little ones will be bombarded with images of sweet and fatty food. Their mums are hoping they grow up with better access to healthy food than they had.
Growing up, obviously, all the billboards that I saw was burgers, chips. I never, ever, ever saw a billboard for a salad or some fruit. Yeah. So it was always, I'll have a burger, I'll have chips, I'll have a fizzy drink.
Even in our secondary school, there was butty bars, but then if you wanted to side with your butty, it was kind of cookies, brownies. Yeah. There weren't any healthier options to choose.
I worry about the teeth because when I was little, my teeth weren't really looked after that much.
It's sites like these where the council says companies won't be allowed to show unhealthy food.
We will not stop advertisement, but what we will stop advertisement is unhealthy, say a sandwich or a drink. We'd ask them to swap that for a healthy sandwich and a healthy drink, because there is so much sugar that is in drinks that you don't see.
Research links high levels of obesity to deprivation. Knowsley is one of the most deprived boroughs in the country. 25% of children live in low-income families. More children in Knowsley are obese and overweight when they start school than anywhere else in the UK. Half will be overweight or obese when they start secondary school. Huge challenges for the borough's Director of Public Health.
So give us an example then. A company wants to advertise a burger, fries and a fizzy drink on one of your billboards. Is that a yes or a no from Knowsley Council?
Well, we would say no. What we would ask the company who was wanting to advertise would be, look at your healthier options. These are the standards. So select some of your options that are healthier and advertise them.
The council admits it only owns a small proportion of the borough's advertising space. For this Access to Healthy Food campaigner, there's more they could do.
Anything that's going to encourage healthy eating is fantastic,
But we do also have to say, how can we make it easier for people to eat healthy food when at the moment access to healthy food is not that great? Where you've got empty shops, why can't we have maybe more of a community food hub that actually offers some basics that are fresh?
Knowsley hopes that where it leads, other councils will follow. These mums want more action to take unhealthy food off the menu.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
And we'll be discussing more on that and funding for hospices on Politics Northwest this Sunday. That's BBC One at 10 o'clock. Now, it's Holocaust Memorial Day tomorrow, commemorating the millions of people murdered by the Nazis in the Second World War. Danny Herman is 88. Many members of his family perished. And he shares his family's story in schools, educating the next generation about what happened. He's been talking to Roger.
Auschwitz was a labour camp. I had family there, I had my aunt and uncle, but they perished there. I think about my grandparents. They ended up in Sobibor. It was an extermination camp. People came in at one end and never came out at the other.
8 decades on, at home near Altrincham, Danny Herman often thinks of the more than 20 members of his family who died in the Holocaust. His own escape, aged 3, was miraculous.
I was born on the 15th of September 1935. It happened to be the day that the Nuremberg laws were enforced. All restrictions on Jews, they weren't allowed to work, weren't allowed to have businesses. My father, he worked as a volunteer in a local Jewish organisation. The officials of that organisation said to him, if you do not leave tonight, tomorrow morning the Nazis are going to call for you and take you away to a concentration camp.
Unwilling to leave his family, Danny's dad stayed, only avoiding capture by hiding from the soldiers upstairs. He escaped to England the next day. Danny and his mum resolved to follow, but having already sent off for a visa, her passport was inside the British Embassy in Berlin.
And that was an 800-mile trip because I was born in Königsberg, which was in East Prussia. She had a friend in Berlin, so we stayed with the friend, and first thing next morning she went to the embassy. When she got there were hundreds of people, and an official came out of the embassy and said, that's it. So my mother literally put her foot in the door, said, well, you've got my passport in there, I've applied for a visa, at least give it me back. So the official pulled her in, sat her down in the entrance hall of the embassy and said, wait there, I'll see what I can do. And half an hour later he came back with the passport, and to her great delight she had this visa stamped in the passport.
So that official saved your life?
Yeah, yeah.
Clutching perhaps the last visas to leave Germany, Danny and his mum got out on the final boat, arriving in Kent on the eve of war. The family spent the war in Liverpool, where his German dad worked building aircraft for the RAF, before they moved to Manchester and became British citizens. Danny qualified as an accountant, was an international sprinter, and even spent several years helping to train Manchester City. In recent times, he shared his story in talks to school children about the Holocaust.
Having Holocaust Memorial Day, it keeps it in the public eye. We don't want it to be confined to one line in a history book.
And it's too important for that.
Yes.
Quite an incredible story. Right, let's get some more football now, and it's the 4th round of the FA Cup this weekend. Liverpool will have to put today's shock announcement about Jurgen Klopp to one side until certainly the end of the season, when on Sunday they will be hosting Norwich. Manchester United travel to Newport County. Tomorrow, Everton are home to Luton Town, but tonight it's the biggest clash of the round. Manchester City are away to Spurs, where the cup holders have not scored a goal in their last 5 visits. Manager Pep Guardiola has ruled out striker Erling Haaland, who's missed the last 6 weeks with a foot injury.
After 2 or 3 sessions, he felt a little bit disturbing,
And that's why we were a little bit cautious, after we wait a lot of time when in December could not play. And now he feels good, and now we give him 3 or more 4 days, and hopefully in Burnley can play some minutes, first minutes, we'll see.
Now, think of Rugby League towns and you might think of the likes of Wigan and St Helens, but Rugby League's northwest heartland also includes Cumbria, home to Millom, the oldest amateur rugby league club in the world. The club is marking its 150th anniversary with a special celebration tonight. Ian Haslam has been to meet some of its past and present stars.
There have been many magic moments in Millom's 150-year history, like this Challenge Cup win over Serbian side Red Star Belgrade 5 years ago.
On the wall there we've got the notes from the very first meeting on 5th of December 1873. My family started in 1900. I've had a family member of every generation play. There was local teams set up prior to 1873, and then the managing directors of the ironworks and the Hodbarra Mining Company come together, recognise the popularity of the sport, put something in place to keep the young lads interested, and Millom Rugby League was founded.
And the club has thrived ever since, with former players keen to stick around.
It's such a close-knit community. Everybody knows everybody. The crowd that we have are outstanding, magnificent.
Look at you there, looking glorious. Back in the 1979-80 season, you're not changed a bit?
No, that was a wonderful day, that at all. 9,000 people watching us. After you've played down here, you've got friends for life. And we sit and talk about old days and how much better we were than that team are out there at the moment.
Don't tell the team that are out there at the moment.
All the teams will have had to contend with the location's potential for windy weather.
There's a sign of what the wind is like.
This is Millom's 4th home in their 150-year history. As you can see, it's a big wide open pitch and it gets really cold on days like this, but there is a brilliant view in the background. They've had so much success here over the years and they're confident of loads more in the years to come.
Edward Knowles was an early star, playing for Millom and England in the 1890s. Talented players are continuing to come through the various age group sides, like these first teamers now heading out to play in Australia.
I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now without the coaches or the players around this club, and it is a high standard. It's one of the highest standards in the amateur league.
Everyone loves the rugby in Millom, and I think everyone always will. There's always such a buzz when the season's on.
Yes, there's no doubt this town is invested in its team.
On a game day, we get hundreds of people coming down watching. Everybody's talking about it. Millom is a rugby league, well, a sport community, to be honest.
It's probably quite far for some teams to come, isn't it?
Well, that's one of the things when a lot of the players and other officials get off the coaches saying, I don't know how you can do it every week. Because obviously they come up once a season, but we seem to be on the motorway every other week. If you want to play at this level, you've got to travel.
As they might just do for another 150 years, at least. Ian Haslam, BBC North West Tonight.
Now, it is that time of year when we're all asked to take a look outside and note down how many birds we see and what we see. It's the annual RSPB Big Garden Birdwatch. Now, you do have to register on their website to take part, but once you've done that, it is really very simple, as Phil McCann reports.
Anyone can do this. You don't have to be an RSPB ranger like Gareth.
So far this morning, I've seen some house sparrows and the starlings are flying about at the moment. Since we've moved here, I've seen long-tailed tits, blue tits, great tits, coal tits.
You too can do what Gareth does in his garden here in New Mills on the edge of the Peak District. Hundreds of thousands with gardens take part every year in the RSPB's Big Garden Birdwatch. This year the charity's warning there's been a big decrease in the number of wild birds visiting our gardens.
Every year me and my daughter sit here for an hour to do the Big Garden Birdwatch. Sarah loves sitting here watching the birds anyway. We have seen a significant decrease in many species of birds, and especially the birds we see in our gardens. So it's really important that we understand what's happening.
And plenty of you have got in touch throughout today with what you've spotted in gardens across the northwest. And there's plenty you can do to make sure you get even more visitors.
In the summer, this is cherry tree. The blackbirds feed off the cherries. They love them. And then we've got some laurel trees here. The blackbirds love the berries on those as well. We try and plant some wildflowers. We don't mow the lawn during sort of May, June, July time to make sure that we've got lots of nice clover growing. Even if it's just a small corner of your garden, just plant some native wildflowers in there, let it grow. You'll be amazed how many insects will sort of go in there. The birds will start to forage in there.
Phil McCann, BBC North West Tonight.
Yes, let's look after our birds. Now, no, I was about to say speaking of which, but that's just... Here she is, lovely
I'll take
bird.
it. I will take it. Thank you,
And we're
Annabelle.
matching, look at this.
Matchy outfits, yes. Hello there. Good evening. Now then, this morning it started off really blustery, didn't it? This is how it looked on the Isle of Man. Min's mum sent this picture in. It was that cold front I talked about last night, really active. Between about 3 and 6 o'clock this morning, we had gusts of around 50 miles per hour. So not as strong as the storms, but it was short-lived and really active. So, yeah, it did give us a few heavy downpours and a blustery start, but then it improved. And look at that. Beefy on the beach, enjoying the sunshine. Lots of sunshine, but it was a much cooler feeling day. And actually, as we go into the weekend, it is going to turn milder, especially Sunday. And nice news is it's going to be mostly dry. That's all thanks to high pressure in the south, and that's going to draw up that southerly air. So milder conditions, the fronts staying away for the weekend. Great news. Looks like we won't see the rain until Monday. Now, as we head overnight tonight, for the bulk of us, it will be dry. We will start to get thicker cloud across parts of Cumbria and Lancashire, and for a time, the Isle of Man. I think for Pennines, we could have the odd shower, but for most, dry. 5 to 8 degrees, so it's not going to be cold. Tomorrow, we're looking at a dry day with variable amounts of cloud, sunny spells. That could turn a bit hazy into the afternoon as high cloud pops by. Now, it's still going to be breezy, nowhere near as windy as it has been, just a noticeable breeze coming in from the southwest, with temperatures tomorrow possibly getting back up to 10 degrees. 10 is 50 in Fahrenheit. And it's Sunday, though, that we really drag in that warmer, milder air. We're going to get to about 13 degrees as we go through Sunday, which for this time of year is really quite unusual. But there will be more cloud and the winds will strengthen. Now, for coastal parts and for the hills, I think we're probably looking at about 30, 35 mile per hour winds. So it will be a blustery feeling day once again. The temperatures are going to be a little bit higher, but given the wind speed, the gust speed, then it won't feel as mild as 12 or 13 degrees would suggest. And we hold on to that mild air as we go into next week. By Thursday, getting up to about 14. And like I said, Monday, looks like we'll see some rain coming through. A bit of that could be heavy, but no warnings.
No warnings, which nicely makes a change, doesn't it?
Look at us.
I know.
It's like we've actually planned this.
I know. We should do that more often, shouldn't we? We haven't got the energy to do that, have we? Thanks very much for watching. Katie's here with your late news. Bye-bye.
Take care.